Welcome to Who Are You? Uninterrupted with Felecia Hatcher. Let's get started.
Why are you afraid to ask for what you want? That's what I want to chat about. It's something that I dealt with personally, right? And then I also feel it's been coming up a lot lately in conversations that I have been having with people, right? Being afraid to ask for exactly what we want and then not getting the things right that we need, suffering through circumstances that we're currently in, but we can easily find a pathway out of if we ask for the things that we want. And so some of that is clarity, right? Like you kind of know a feeling of what you want, but you don't know exactly what it is until you sit down with yourself and just ask that question, what is it that I really want? And then in asking yourself, what is it that I really want? Then you start identifying, well, who can help me get the thing if it's not something that I'm able to actually get myself? And so there's so many different things. And I wrote a bunch of stuff down. Fear of rejection, right? Fear of failure, lack of confidence, fear of being perceived as selfish, which is a big one. We got to dive into that. Fear of confrontation, fear of judgment, lack of communication skills, fear of being seen as weak, fear of change and past experiences. So those are like the 10 top reasons why people don't ask for what they want. I'm adding clarity to that list. So, like a lack of clarity of not knowing what you need most in that moment so that you can clearly communicate it to who you need it from is a big part of it. But let's jump into fear of rejection, right? And so, let me know if fear of rejection is the thing that stops you or is the reason why you're afraid to ask for the things that you need, right? And so your fear of rejection is often that you worry that the person that you will be asking will say no, and you will be left feeling embarrassed or rejected, right? And so a lot of times it's not even asking of that person, but it's expecting the worst possible outcome of asking that specific person for what you need. Sometimes the people we ask for stuff that are in our immediate circle can't help us. So the answer is always going to be no, right? And we hear oftentimes, even with like entrepreneurs, like pitching their businesses, people pitching inside the companies that they work in for a raise or a different position or a new project or a new sales opportunity. And thinking through the worst possible scenario every single time you think about that thing, that's the rejection that you're feeling, right? You're literally feeling and projecting the rejection before it actually happens. And if someone says no to you, we've all heard no a million and one times before, right? So it doesn't change the position that you're in. But like I try and get to the no as fast as I can. So I know that I can move on to the next thing, right? Give me a quick no or give me a quick yes so I can move on to the next person and then don't even get into that realm of feeling like I'm bothering the person over and over again. Give me a quick yes or quick no, right? And so fear of rejection, fear of failure is a really, really, really big one because so many times that is the thing. And rejection and failure kind of go hand in hand, right? And so sometimes it's like, I'm not going to ask for this thing because once I ask for it, I actually got to do it. I got to start showing up as that person. I really got to start putting in the work to maintain that thing. And so it's easier to not do anything. It's easier to not ask even people around me that I know will say yes, because then I got to rise to the occasion and then I got to do it. Then I got to maintain it and then I got to keep going because now I'm stepping into this thing that I said I want. And if I go out and ask for the thing that I need, like, am I going to really get it? And I really get it. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do with it? And sometimes that burden of, man, I got to move outside of my comfort zone once I step into this thing, or the fact that I now ask this person this thing, that's somebody that's going to hold me accountable. And for somebody listening, that snatched some edges. It might have hurt a little bit. And I've been there before, like, damn. Now that I've asked the person for the thing because I was afraid to ask them, but now that I asked them, I got to do the work. And am I now the person that can do the work, right? Because I kept saying it was a thing that I wanted and like, well, here it is. And so what are you going to do with that now? Right. All right. And then the other part of it's like failure is really real. And it's always been this really interesting thing working in the startup space where it's like fail fast, fail as fast as you possibly can. And then in my community, right, like my African American slash Caribbean community with parents out growing, on both sides, it's like, what are you talking about failure? There's no failure here. And the definitions are different, right? Everyone has the same vocabulary, but our definitions are different, or however that saying goes. Everyone has the same dictionary, but our definitions inside of those things are completely different. And so the definition of failure is like, hey, work through this thing as fast as you possibly can so that you can test and see if it's the right direction that you need to go in. And if it does not work, you can pick up the next thing. And so many people get in like analysis paralysis that they are so stuck on the idea that they don't ever put any action behind it because all they can think about is what happens when this goes wrong. And anytime when someone says that to me, I'm like, well, what happens when it goes right? Like, let's sit in that and think through that first. What happens when all of this goes right? What do you want to do? And it's so interesting when you ask people that because they may say one thing and then they'll immediately go back to like all the negative. I'm like, no, actually, like, let's come back and list another thing about what happens when this goes right. And literally put yourself and a shift in your mindset of actually thinking about the best possible scenario instead of the worst possible scenario in every single thing that we do. Because if we keep expecting, like, you cannot hold two beliefs at the same time. And I say that all the time, right? People have said that to me all the time. You cannot want this thing and want the life or the career or the business to go in this way. And then also at the same time be thinking it's never going to happen for you. One of those things is going to outwin the other. And you know what? It's always going to be the negative thing and the impossibility, like the impossibility of that thing. And so you have to push past the fear of failure and the fear of rejection, right? Those top two things that often stop people from pursuing their dreams or asking for what they want. That third thing is a lack of confidence, right? And so not having the confidence to ask people for the thing that you want, not feeling worthy enough to ask for this thing that is a new level, right? Or a new person or a new thing that you've never had or done before, but there's no other way to get the thing that you want or you have not done before without asking for it. And, I've been in what was her who taught me that? Um, I can't remember the person who taught me that, but years ago, I was in this meeting with someone early on, and they were definitely in a position to help me. I was so eager to and so excited to just have the meeting with the person that I never actually sat down like, what can this person help me with? I was so excited to just get in, be in the sphere and have a conversation. And when we closed out the meeting, the person's like, well, how can I help you? And I was just like, you read the books and they're just like, say, I think I'll think about it, or I'm not sure. So that's what I said. And she was just like, so you sat here for an entire, just, like elder people do, just snatch your edges. She's like, you sat here for an entire meeting. And at the close, I'm asking you, how can I help you? So literally taking the pressure off of you. And you don't have one ask of me. And so she was just like, never ever go into a meeting again without having an ask. And you should have 3 asks at all times. And I think I've shared this online before, right? You should have a monetary ask, right? You should have a introduction ask and it was I forgot what the other one was, but always have like 3 ask, right? And so one is monetary, especially if you're raising money, put it out there whether that person can help you or they know somebody that can. An introduction, you should ask the person like, hey, I need to do this, right? Whatever your big ask is. So big ask or monetary ask. Who you need an introduction to, right? Hey, do you know someone that can do this? This is exactly what I need. And then always have a third kind of lower tier ask. Maybe that's for a follow-up meeting or a follow-up phone call, something that's very direct, but always have 3 asks. And when you do that, when you walk into rooms, that helps with your confidence, because y'all know the definition of confidence, or the root word of confidence, means to confide, and confide means to trust. And so, do you trust yourself enough that you can trust other people, right? With your vision, with what you're asking for, with the things that you need, it's more so about trusting yourself than it is than trusting that person afterwards, right? But going in with the confidence starts with preparation. I don't think you can have confidence if you do not have preparation. That is how you get the confidence, right? You know, I think there's a different level of confidence from someone who has sung all their life and then they get up on stage to sing, as opposed to someone that's doing, oh my God, what is it? Karaoke, right? You're just jumping up on stage. You don't really know the lyrics. You haven't practiced. You haven't done anything. Unless they've been drinking, that's a whole other situation, right? Really funny to watch. But if there's a difference, that person is prepared. And so their confidence is up because they're prepared at a level that they were just waiting on the opportunity to present itself, as opposed to someone just jumping up, the words being thrown up on the screen. You've never seen them before. You may have heard the song or the melody, but it's not your thing. There's a different level of confidence that exists. And as a result of that, not being prepared wanes on your confidence, right? And so confidence is number 3, lack of confidence. Um, Fear of being perceived as selfish. Oof. This is such a big one, about not asking, or being afraid to ask for what we want, because we'll come off as being perceived as selfish. And some people fear that asking for what they want will make them appear self-centered, leading them to avoid asking for what they really desire. There's a way to ask for the things that you want and remove the selfish or self-centered aspect of that, right? I think the key difference in asking for something that you want and not asking for something that you want for fear of being perceived as selfish, is of self-centered, is intention. Like, that is the difference between the two things. What is your intention? Is your intention to be self-centered? Is your intention to be selfish? Well, then, yeah, you're going to come off that as that, because that was your true intention to begin with. But if your intention was never to be that, but you really truly need this person or this thing or this place or whatever to be in service of you in this moment, then that is your pure intention, and you're not selfish and you're not self-centered. And so there's things that you can do, right? You can create win-win situations. You can ask for the thing that you need, and then also ask at the same time, hey, how can I return the favor, or what else can I do for you? I think in the business community, we roll that off so often. And so often people don't have a response for us. That's another story for another time. But if your intention was never to be selfish to begin with, you should remove that feeling of being or thinking or embodying that you're selfish and self-centered and asking for the thing that you need. I'm going to skip through fear of confrontation, fear of judgment, lack of communication. I know y'all don't kill me. Fear of being seen as weak, fear of change. I feel like a lot of those are pretty self-explanatory. And then of course, like, our past experiences. The top ones: fear of rejection, fear of failure, lack of confidence, and being perceived as selfish. I'm skipping through those because I just want to close with saying, one of the things that I've learned along my journey, and it took me a long time to learn this. I grew up with parents that did not ask for help. Still, to a certain extent, do not ask for help. Right. Also grew up in, I feel like, a culture where if you asked for help, it was perceived as a sign of weakness. That we need to know all things at all times, and like, we are an island within ourselves. That we cannot ask for any help. And if you ask for any help, you are seen as not only weak, but literally the weakest link. And that can be farthest from the case. What I've come to realize is that asking for help is the highest form of strength, because you can build things with other people and both people get help. You can build something with the help that you need, and when you get to a certain level, you turn around and help other people. We've all heard those sayings, like, you get your foot in the door, you jam it open, leave it open for other people. And that's a way that you give back, right? That's a way that you show gratitude for the people that have helped you. But more than anything, why not bring people along with you, right? I had to learn that as a mom. I had to learn that as a wife. I had to learn that as, an entrepreneur. I learned that now as an executive. Like, I've learned it and I'm still learning it in so many different ways of asking for the help that you need is not a sign of weakness. Getting the clarity on exactly what you need and who you need it from is the homework that most of us need to do so that we then know how to ask for help. And that preparation gives us the confidence so that we don't feel like we're being selfish or self-centered when we're asking for the thing that we need because we have clarity behind the ask and know why we're asking what we're asking to begin with, right? And so hopefully that's helpful to some people. I didn't even get a chance to wave, but I haven't jumped on live in a while. And I wanted to share that because it has come up quite a bit in some situations and some conversations that I've been in recently. And I wanted to just be able to share that. All right. Bye, y'all.